So hello everyone, we're back with another episode of A Student's Perspective. My name is Paige, and today I'm here with Julien Albertini from S3E10. And if you could just please give a quick overview of just your role in the company and a little bit about yourself and the firm.
Awesome. So I'm one of the founding partners of S3E10. We're a company with two partners. It's me and my partner Alina. She's from Moscow and I'm from Brooklyn. So you have like these two diametrics coming together. We met in New York and we had a crazy idea to start a design firm, and the rest is really history from there.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I've never been more excited for an interview, and I say that pretty aggressively because I've done this for 3 seasons now, and I've met a lot of incredible people through A Student's Perspective, but I've never come across a firm and a designer that has spoken more to my style of at least design. And it kind of feels surreal to actually be able to conversate with you, just not only about your own work, but about the future and possibly just inspiring me and myself through all of this. But I do want to hear just about your background from the start, because, prior to even meeting your partner and co-founder, I think that's incredible, the opportunity to work internationally. Just your home groundings and where you began, either with schooling or just locational.
Got it. So my father's also a designer architect. So kind of was born into this life. So my dad used to design Bloomingdale's, Harrods when I was a kid, and I loved the design industry, and he just made it look so cool. So I said, I really want to try to do it. So he got me into internships at a very young age. So when I was 16, I was working for some architectural firms in New York City called TPG. And also before school, I was taking little CAD courses at my local college just to learn CAD and SketchUp. It's crazy. I've been using SketchUp since I was about 12, 13. So it's like I was getting cooking into it really early. It was like my dad got me into it. But so I started to do that. I went to school for architecture. And looking back at architecture, I was a little bit weary, and I'm going to say this very clear to those architecture students out there. There's sometimes you're going to feel that there's a strict difference between the design creativity life and then the design business. They're definitely bifurcated, and so it's something really to understand because. And I'm saying all these things because as a person who's owned a company at a young age, it was always difficult for me to understand how to always want to design, but also that's not the main point of owning a design business. Actually, the main point is securing the jobs, right? So you always have to kind of wear these two hats. So just to get back to my story, I went to architectural school. I left architectural school actually after my second year, and I went to school for finance. And it's because I was a little bit weary about, my life as an architect in the future and salaries and so on and so forth. So I said, you know what? I got into finance school and I said, don't chase the money. You're doing the wrong thing. I said, what finance school has taught me is that, chase the dream and also focus on your product, because if you have a good product, you can name the price. So I finished school for finance. I ended up opening up a design firm, just little basic projects. My father actually switched companies at this time. And so he would introduce me to some people, and I started designing small fixtures for Calvin Klein, Izod, Tommy Hilfiger, just little small retail fixtures, and that started to grow into full retail stores. And then I started to do larger projects in mainland China, which was fun. And after that, I realized that I wanted to kind of grow a little bit more. I was doing a little bit of construction at the time, so let's just say if I would design a nice kitchen or just a nice living room or a nice home, I would just do the construction because it's fairly simple stuff. But a lot of clients started to ask me for more things, and I said, I don't know ground up as well as I should. So what I did is I found a partner. He's an older gentleman, and we started a design build firm. And so this was the last company before S3E10. Built the design build firm to a certain point. I was introduced to Alina, my current partner, through my ex-partner's son. We were just friends. Alina was coming from Moscow, and a funny story about Alina is that she came with this book of a company she wants to start in the States. And I always believe the designer designs the world around him or her. It's like you feel the presence of a designer when they walk through a room. And I was like, well, this girl's a designer, straight off the bat. And so we're flipping through this book that she created, and I was like, wow, it's just so well put together. It's like it's concise, and I really realized that she took pride in presentation, and I think that's very important not only in a company, but it's also very important to see in a person because that's a great partner to have. So I always believe in failing fast. So before I even knew if she was good and not good, I said, you know what, you don't know until you know. So I said, why don't we just start working on some projects and just see how it goes. And that's a background story. And I'll, whenever the chance comes, I'll tell you kind of fast forward on how we got our first project and everything.
That's incredible. And at what age was that you had met her at?
When I was 25.
That's incredible.
I turned 30 this year, so.
Good for you. And I even think that, I was first listening to the first part of those conversations when you said about the smaller installations and the retail spaces, I see that has grown exponentially in just the detail of the comprehensive qualities of some of the retail spaces that you do now and just the growth of some of those pieces. So that's even pretty cool to hear where it started and how it's picked up in those areas. And I'm also really excited to say I have my copy of the March magazine on hand. And oh man, this is just the most incredible thing. And this is one of the reasons that I want to go to Moscow. And it actually started a few months ago when I first saw the why.
Yes.
That project. And I've been pushing those photos, just all of your project photos, because you must have a surplus of 30 final finished products from that project itself of all the different just coordinates and details. And I had been using it at my own firm as concept images for a presentation that we were working on. And it was just a funny inspiration of just comparisons of design, just the quality of the dining spaces and just the variation that it offers in between each place. Like, it was silly to say that was the sole reason that I wanted to go to Moscow, but now I'm even more excited about it.
Yeah, we have a lot of projects in Moscow. We've got a lot coming, and then we've got a lot that's finished off that we actually don't talk about so much. We have a project in Domodedovo, which is an international airport. The Y is in a part of Moscow called Hamovniki. So we have a couple of projects in Hamovniki right now. One of them is called IO or EO Salon. EO meaning like myself or me in Italian, and it's a women's wellness center. But it's also a gynecology office, which is super interesting. So Alina obviously led that. Yeah. But the idea behind it is to create like the coolest place for a woman to go. You get your nails done, your hair done, go to the doctor. It's just like all about women. It's all about like empowerment. It's all about like sex appeal, and it's a really, really nice vibe. So we're really excited to showcase the project. We've actually going to open it up, I would say, in the next 2 weeks.
Oh wow, that's really incredible. Yeah, and it just goes to show that the personality that you can carry through some of the retail and hospitality spaces can still vary into those specialty projects that you do.
Yes.
And I think it's interesting too that you work so heavily on the projects within Moscow as well, and not just your partner. And how does that work? Doing it from such a far distance.
No worries. So actually, Alina's in the States. So both of us are in the States. Okay. So the office in Moscow is run by our architect Ilya. He's also a small owner of the company as well. He's really the backbone of our company. I always try to shed light on him because he's been there through ups and downs. Again, business is business, so you go through it. And he's always there. He's always stuck with us, and he really brings everything together. So Alina and I will be the crazy designers, and he'll be like, "You guys can't do that." And so he'll kind of say, "Okay, this is how we're going to make that happen." But he also, what's cool about him is he also adds value to the creativity side. So he's like, if we have a crazy idea, he's like, "Let's just make it happen." Like, hence the cover of that magazine. It's a really funky wall that we came up with, and we were able to put those pieces together and make it happen.
Brutalist. I love it.
Yeah. So as far as the process between Alina and I, we shift kind of positions many times over. So it's like there'll be one project where I focus on building the kind of the shell of the project, the architectural interior, and then she'll focus on the detail, chairs, lighting, like kind of these fine details. And sometimes it's the flip side where she'll say, we really should like shape it like this, So we'll shape it like that, and then I'll go in and I'll start to shape some of the details as well. So it kind of shifts focus, and I think that that's where we add a lot of value to each other, because we definitely do have different styles separately. So when we come together, of course, naturally as a partnership, she's like, I want this, I want this. But what happens is, when we really push those two things together, we really see that it's a beautiful marriage. And there's a funny project we're working on. It's Juniper Lighting. Juniper is an architectural lighting firm in Soho. And we were working on this project, and it was our head designer, Anna, it was Alina, and we were like really going at it. It was like one of those projects where like, I want my way, she's like, she wants her way. And we were all pushing kind of what we wanted. And the beauty of it is that obviously, because it's a business behind it, we have a deadline. So we were like, all right, guys, like, this is enough. Like, we got to finish this stuff. When we finished that, we stopped everything. We actually looked at the project and we were like, holy, like this looks cool. I love it. And we're just like, it was funny because sometimes we fight for the small detail, but don't take a step back and look at the greater whole. And the greater whole is really beautiful, and we're satisfied with what we have.
And so I know you continue to say, and I can tell that all your personalities between the two of you just cover such a broad spectrum of not only talents, but just like the specificities of what you guys are able to handle. And that is extremely the value of what you do. And even I've noticed being the branding that you guys handle, along with that, it just adds to the cohesive nature of every single project that you do, and being able to apply even within some of those places, I think is so neat. Has that grown, especially with like the length of your company, or even adding people to help you out in those majors, or how has that changed?
So let me go over kind of my strengths and then Alina's strengths, and then I think that'll better answer kind of like why we do what we do. So I have knowledge in retail design, high-end residential, and construction. And then I went to school for finance, so there's a little bit of business behind there as well. Alina actually went to architectural school as well, but she used to work for BBDO Advertising Company, and she used to work for MTV Russia. So she has a lot of experience in design and branding, and she was also the head of design for the largest restaurant group in Russia at the time, called Ginza Project. So again, she has the hospitality, branding, design experience. I have the business, design, and construction, and residential experience. So you mix those two things together, and we're saying, even from the beginning, we always said, Asthetique is not just a design firm. We're a firm that really tailors every single project as if it's a brand. So even if we design a residential property, let's say high-end residential property, the property itself should have a brand. Like something that we don't like, and this is just pure opinion. This is not fact. This doesn't have to be like a law, but we like when you step into a home or a residence and you walk from room to room and you still feel like you're in the same home. And I think that's the beauty in a residence. So you should build something like it's a brand. So now when you translate to the commercial side of things, it's the same thing. So it's like, if we design a hospitality project, we're not just designing the interiors, but we're touching the branding, the logo, the naming of it, what the menus look like, what does it feel like? Because as we design, the experience needs to be visceral on all touch points. And if you touch all those points, what's going to happen is you're going to start to create something absolutely gorgeous. And then the business term is that you start to build a goodwill within the industry. So like double arches for McDonald's, just knowing what the double arches look like and knowing that's McDonald's, that's goodwill. So it's like with these restaurants, you want people to automatically know, like if we design, let's say Loretto, it's a restaurant that we designed in Brooklyn that's opening up soon. When people go there, they should automatically know just from a small picture that that's Loretto. We designed a nightclub in the Hamptons, AM Southampton, and what we did is everything was like really funky, cool. We did like this retro rock theme, which is really fun. But above the DJ booth, we put a neon crown, and like it's something as simple as that. Why? Because a bunch of people are going to take photos. The photos, they're going to see this neon crown. People are going to go on Instagram. They'll automatically know where it is without even having to see the name. So it's just like little things like that, and so we always kind of mix that in together what we do. And then the final thing about that is that we also do brand development. So we have a project in Mexico City that we're working on right now, where we have two beverage guys that love coffee, and they want to pretty much compete with Starbucks in Mexico. So we went down to Mexico. We did We did due diligence. We understood the competitive landscape. We started to build a brand literally brick by brick, from the naming to the logos to what the interiors look like, to the plans, the specifications of the fixtures, and we packaged that all together in something called like a brand in a box, right? Which you could take this now and you can go literally to any location you want, and you know exactly what you need to build, and so on and so forth. So we do that as well. There's a lot of layers to us, but I think you could start to see them in a lot of our work.
So this might seem more of like a secret recipe kind of question, but how is it possible to grow so specifically the clientele that you were able to achieve? And I know that it just grows exponentially with the designs that you're able to tailor to, and then people recognizing your work, especially from the press, and understanding your style and being able to apply it across all boards of clients. But how did that even begin? Because I think that's the strongest point, is that you're able to design for people that you probably appreciate so much and actually tell their story and something you feel strongly about as well. Because that's not usually the case, especially within the design industry, or where some of us come out, even like in Pennsylvania, and just different areas like that. We're not tailoring to the clients that we necessarily want to, but hope to someday get there.
So, all right, how should I put this? You gotta, when you're starting a company, you've gotta, I know this is gonna sound kind of brash, but you gotta fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. You have to. And what I mean by that is that your presentation as a firm needs to be extremely strong, right? You need to showcase that you should exude that you're good at what you do. You have to have that confidence in what you do, even though you may be a very young firm. And clients are going to love that. You know why clients are going to love that? Because they're going to feel that they're working with someone that's special. So you have to kind of say, like, listen, I'm good at what I do. I'm going to think of some crazy things, some really unique things that still fit within your budget or still fit within your timeline. And we're gonna work together, and we're gonna make it happen. And that's what me and Alina did from the jump, together as a company. We really held hands with each client, and we made sure that each client is happy. And we really dreamed big. Another thing that I would say is that's really added to our success is that we really push our design. Like when we design something, we stand on it, and of course, clients are going to be like, "Oh, we can't make it, we can't do that." Well, like, we can do it, and we're going to try to help you do it. So we're going to find some contractors that will say yes to doing it. We'll find some mill workers that would say yes. We're going to make these curves and these corners and these cuts, because again, when we're working on these commercial projects, that part of the business, we're always saying that if you take this extra step could lead for more success, and it's actually worked. So I give you an example. So the Y, and also Polliot obviously got the cover of Interior Design magazine. The Y, has been featured in Forbes. It's been featured in Cosmo. So it's like these owners really love us for that, because they're like, yeah, you guys are really crazy. But at the end of the day, we've shed a lot of light on their businesses, which have made their businesses very, very popular for where they are.
Well, that's pretty remarkable. No, I think the amount of press that you've received too is just, you should be incredibly proud of the amount of places that I didn't even recognize that you've been in before either. But the fact that there were so many projects that I've seen before and didn't realize that were your own was even more mind-blowing to me the more research you did. So that's pretty.
Still mind-blowing to me that you even said it. I'm very serious. Listen, I'm still fairly young. I'm still, I still keep myself humble, but it's like every single time that we get an award or an accolade, it's still a shock to me, because, you work so hard, and suddenly when it starts to click, it happens before you realize it. So I'm really grateful for everything you said.
And you guys were just honored again in the Hospitality Design magazine, or in the Coming of Age.
Yes. So we were on the cover of Hospitality Design magazine. It's a pretty large magazine for the industry, and they named us Wave of the Future, which is really cool. And we were the headline for the Wave of the Future, which is icing on the cake. So yeah, there's some amazing designers in there. I mean, the head designer from Rockwell Group, which is probably the largest hospitality design firm in the world. There's the head of design for, I believe, Marriott. I mean, there's some really, really key figures there. So for us to even get the cover on that, I mean, again, it was just such a shocker for us. We're like, what's going on?
Big things are happening.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk talk about hospitality design too, because I think that's an interesting point now. I think COVID even, and just seeing transition. Have you already seen a bunch of jumps and changes in your designs now?
Yeah, yes and no. So I'll say yes, we definitely have seen changes, but what we try to do is we try to tailor it for a temporary world, right? We don't want to make everything that's going to be fixed to be like this, because unfortunately, what's happening is that, of course, COVID starts to affect the financials behind the restaurant. So we want to still make sure that you could fit a good amount of people in a restaurant, but we have to add these partitions to each table, or on the tables we have to add these new scannable menus instead of having a hard menu. So it's there are definitely some changes to them. To it, but I don't think it's not too great.
Yeah, I imagine it being difficult within the outdoor seating world in New York. Anyway, it's not as plausible as it is in some of those areas. But I can still understand. Okay, well, I guess I also want to talk about just specifically Cafe Poulet, because I think it's worth a discussion, even though I'd like to talk about the why as well. But were you the lead on Cafe Poulet?
It's again, most of our parts just like it's all of us just throwing this to the wall. Yeah.
It makes it so much better, I think, because there's things that fall through the cracks that some people miss that another person is able to pick up the pieces on. So the fact that you're able to use that to just grow the strength of each project is pretty incredible. Yeah. But I just really want to talk about, I guess, the detail of some of the installations, and I think that's something that gets so missed in some of the areas, not just locally, but even within New York, is the opportunity for either these custom lighting installations or the wall installation. And what really made them decide to go about that concrete kind of facade there? Or where did it begin?
So Cafe Poulet is located in a very interesting location in Russia for the history of the aeronautical history of Russia. So right across the street there's a district called Kodinsky. Kodinsky is actually where they have their first flight to space, right there. And it was also just a famous airfield. So right across the street, they built this new development, which Poulet is located in. So the idea behind the restaurant was to create something that paid homage to the Russian aeronautical industry, but in a very fun way. But still make it like a little bit luxurious, but also make it something that's eclectic in itself. So it's purposefully eclectic. Naturally, Alina and I are very natural, luxurious designers. We like very clean lines. We like minimalism. That's actually like what we like together. But for this project, we were tasked on creating something really fun, really funky, and every turn that you would make, you would have a different experience. And so that's what we did. So for the design, so let's say this huge concrete quote unquote wall. The idea behind that is to create like this brutalist and constructivist wall. Again, that brutalism and constructivism was bred around Russia. So you're touching the history, and then you're creating this thing that's super monumental. Now that wall, so a little bit of detail for that wall is that it was really MDF that was constructed out of. And we took a plaster and we dehydrated the plaster. So when you take plaster walls or finishes and you dehydrate them, it looks a little bit more like concrete because it creates these little like porous nodes throughout it. So you do that, you start spreading it all over the space, and it's really just a plaster finish that's meant to look like concrete. So it's still lightweight, it's still feasible, and still actually you could fix it if anyone nicks it. So it's a good material.
Yeah. Still applicable for those. Yeah, finding those finishes that are still, safe to clean and have that awareness in such a public environment. So, what was your favorite part of that project? Just you specifically, because I know that you're a part of different phases of it. So,
my favorite part of that project was my favorite, I would say, space was the private dining room. Mm-hmm. Private dining rooms were really awesome looking. There's this like insignias all over the wall. And it's the ceiling is black, the walls are pretty much black. But on the floor, we have these like little inlay stars throughout the floor. And we have these chairs that look like it was meant for a movie set, kind of like it's part of like Star Trek. And so it was like a super interesting room. And I like it so much because it actually does feel like a movie set. It looks like something that you would never see in a restaurant. So to experience that, to have like this beautiful direct lighting, so spotlights, it draws everything down. It feels super, super intimate. And then you have this like little peak when you look up of this like insignias all over the wall, which are they're just pretty much they're all inspirational quotes, talking about space, talking about why we're here. So
Yeah, and how did that application work? The quotes on the walls. Who did you work with? Yeah.
So we have a lot of private artists that we work that'll just we'll give them something and then they'll sketch it and we'll say we like it, we don't like it, tweak this, tweak that, and then they go up and they sketch it. I will tell you, working with Russia, because I never used to work with Russia. And let me shed some light on that. Is like Russia has some amazing artists, some amazing people. They really, really do, and it sucks because it obviously gets a bad light because of the politics that's involved. But you really find some amazing people that are very happy for what they do. So like you still find artists that really, really love just doing that. Just like give me a project and I'll sketch it in a restaurant. I'm so happy to do that. And it's super grateful. So it's always a pleasure to work with them. I will say.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I noticed the same thing in some of the not just I don't know if they were custom graphics. In a lot of the Y too, and the florals that happen levels. And my favorite is the variation in all of those dining spaces. And one of the private dining, I'm not necessarily sure if it was private dining, but just the different facades and changes. And just as you were saying before, you feel like you're in the same space, but you would have no idea the scale of the space and putting within it. And I can't wait to go. I need to go.
You let me know when you're gonna go. You let me know.
So have you? I guess obviously and clearly just for installations or no?
I have not. I've not been because there's been some issues with visas and stuff like that with what's going on in the U.S. and Russia. So it's actually been very difficult to visit. So those two projects that have recently opened, unfortunately, I haven't seen them. My team got to see it though, but it looks good.
The backbone. Oh, that's beautiful. We're running shortly out of time, but I'm still. I guess I want to hear more about the future for your firm, and I know you have a long ways to go, and it's just so early on. And do you see yourself growing, not only in the different types of design, but in size?
Yes, I would say we want to definitely grow a little bit more. We have about 10 people in our team total. I would say maybe double that max. We still want to remain a boutique firm, but what the future of Asthetique is to convert design as a business to more design as a tool. Alina and I really love to create brands ourselves. So really the next phase is for Asthetique to really start to revolutionize the residential industry. Again, a little bit of history on myself is that I was the head of design for a real estate tech startup called June Homes. And my job was not really to design the spaces, but was to scale design. It was a really, really fun process. So we started the company in 2018. The owner of that company was his name was Daniel Machine. And Daniel came to me and he says, look, we have very low budget. We're going to take distressed properties in prime cities. And what we want to do is we want to take these apartments and we want to offer people that can't afford extremely high rents, we want to offer them a place to stay that feels luxurious, right? And so what I did is I said, okay, great, we can get that done. But he said, I want to open up maybe 50 locations a month. And I couldn't travel that much because we have locations in New York, DC, Boston, LA, and San Francisco. It's impossible for me to visit. So I had to learn how to open up a warehouse, stock it with things that I already liked. I had to have a surveyor that's going to be the one that's going to run around and take photos and measurements of the site. And we started to flip apartments. We'd get an apartment, we would furnish it and construct it, do everything we need to in about 4 days and put it back on the market and rent it out to these renters. And then also the renters get a fully furnished home with a maid service that comes and cleans this place once a week. So it was a really fun concept, and I liked it because it was a challenge, even though I still had Asthetique and I'm still working with Asthetique. But it was cool to help them out and grow the brand, and we grew the brand from zero to making 1.5 million a month, which was amazing. So really, really pushed that, and so the idea behind Asthetique now is saying, we understand how to scale, we understand how to build a process behind design. It's now how do we take our team and the tool of design that we're pretty good at, and apply that to the residential market, which personally is becoming a fairly stale market because everyone's designing the same stuff. And you can feel it. You know the deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's why some of these conversations, I mean, not that I've ever had bad conversations within this market, but going to some of the furniture and trade shows, you do start to, everything feels repetitive after a long time. And I haven't even been going to them for more than 3 years. And for me to feel that way is like almost upsetting, but to be able to have conversations with people that understand the broader strength of it, and then just to understand that residential can reach new meaning. And a lot of it people miss out on the concept of the cohesion that really needs to happen within residential spaces. So that's exciting just to hear that you're expanding that market and just the way that people think about it in general moving forward.
Yes.
And then I guess I'd like to ask just like, how has COVID changed the way that you're working now with your partners?
So COVID, how is it? It's actually pretty drastically changed. So Alina, she's a fighter. Alina actually suffered cancer from cancer about a year and a half ago, and I was with her every step of the way. And I will tell you, she's one of the hardest working women that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was raised with women. I have 3 sisters, and I understand that it's a very, very tough time for a woman to go through that. And so walking with her and going through the motions of everything was a beautiful thing. So how has that changed? COVID obviously that made her at risk because of what's going on. She's good now. She's clear. She's in remission, which is great. So she's healthy. But we had to kind of put her away and say, go to upstate New York and stay away from all this nonsense in the city. So she's upstate. And because she had to go upstate and we don't know when this is going to end, we closed the office in the city. We moved it to Long Island, where I'm located. So the team, we're going to be working out of Long Island now. And so that's pretty much how it's changed. Now, how do we work with clients? I mean, it's okay. When I need to go out, I go out with a face mask. I do it responsibly, and I go to the job sites. So we got some restaurants that are opening up soon in Brooklyn. So work is still here. So it's just a slower process.
We have a lot going on in itself, and actually being home and being able to still have a conversation is really incredible. So thank you for taking time.
Of course. Honestly, I'll do this anytime you want. I'm here to inspire. Besides my father, I didn't have a mentor that taught me the business of design and architecture. And I really learned along the way. So however I could help students, however I could help like some up and coming designers, if you want to learn on a project, and I think it's very, very important because I think together we design the world, honestly. And it's not to make it sound like a kind of very cliche, but we design everything around us. So we have a very, very important job in this world, and we should stick together while we're doing it.
Yeah, and a lot of these conversations I have, we've talked to so many different types of people and backgrounds, and so my specific major is interior architecture and design, and that's what we do at Marywood. Along with architecture program as well, but the student's perspective is strictly within the interior architecture and design program, so it's nice to talk to someone that actually speaks to us physically about the programs that we use and just where you can come from and where you can go to. So it's an inspiration to every single student that is about to read this or listen to this episode. So that's absolutely, especially locally too, because we do have a lot of students from Long Island, New York, and just aspire to be in the city as well. And hopefully in the future there's more events and actual trade shows and things like that happening where maybe we can actually have a conversation in person in the future.
I'm down. Where you guys located? How far in?
It's Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is like an hour sort of west of Jersey. And I'm actually in Jersey today. I live in Warren County, but I'm only like an hour and a half from the city, really.
Oh, cool. That's not too bad. I was going to move, when I was a kid, I was going to move to Bethlehem area, Easton.
I worked in Bethlehem, actually.
Yeah, I was going to move to Easton. My mom was looking at how we found this beautiful house, and we ended up staying in New York. But I was like this close to closing on that house.
Oh, well, that's pretty. I do love Bethlehem and Easton. I worked for a firm in Bethlehem, and I was just rushing there from today because I got off at 2 today. Came home for this interview, but the time shows are all crazy.
Mhm.
Okay, so I guess to end the episode, we can cut a little detail. Could you, or would you mind telling the audience where we can find you on social medias, whether it be
Sure.
Asthetique or yourself?
For sure. So you can follow us at S3E10 Group. It's ASTHETIQUE GROUP. That's on Instagram, and also you can follow me. Feel free. It's Julien Albertini. That's JULIEN. AL B as in boy, ER T as in Tom, I N as in Nancy I. Yeah, get to know me. Get to know me outside of work. I'm pretty chill.
Absolutely. So thank you all for watching another episode of Students Perspective.